mean, going back, probably 10, 20 years ago, right? Organizations started having if you call it the CIO or CTO, kind of the key technology executive, having those actually report to the CEO. Previously, they were traditionally kind of buried under probably a CFO, but kind of having that person have a seat at the table, just as all the other, functional leads are, I think kind of helps that a lot. And then I'll just kind of pull up what I did before, but your first chart actually talks about the business architecture domains and the key relationships. So to the point, there's, obviously the three you mentioned, but kind of, nothing works unless you have that kind of working group, the relationship. So you must have times where you have to, maybe you're like, Dr. Laura or something like that, where you say, okay, kind of how do you break down? There's just all this past history of people just not getting along or gelling or teaming or anything like that. So do you have any example where you've kind of had to come in and kind of, not that they're best friends, but they can at least kind of collaborate and work together better?
Oh, sure. Well, so part of it starts with engagement model and understanding who are the people in our world and what value do we provide to them? What do we exchange? So for sure, it always comes down to the human stuff, right? Especially when it's sticky, because I've walked into some really sticky and competitive scenarios. I find the best way through it is a bigger why. In other words, a why for the company or for the customer that transcends what each group is trying to do. Because at the end of the day, it's not about what you're modeling or what you're doing or you're delivering or who you have access to and what room you're in the conversations with. It's about all of us working together to help the organization get ideas into action and to be able to help the customers. And then just finding ways for them to, describe on paper how they work together, inputs, outputs, so nobody feels overlap, and then finding an opportunity to actually work together on a real scenario to test it out. Then we not only can test it, but we become a little bit better friends in the process.
Yeah, that's great. And Tucker, we have from Rick, so make sure we don't skip him since he's responsible for bringing you on here. So if anybody's watching and they're maybe in between jobs, they need help or advice or whatever, Rick is kind of maybe it's called a reverse talent agent, but you think about Hollywood, people have talent agents and help promote them, kind of get different deals or movies or whatever. Rick does that, I'll say, from a professional perspective, and also extremely, strong in the personal side and really all sides of your life. So anyway, so Rick asks, Whynde, I know your long-range plan also includes teaching, your true love, sharing your knowledge with the next generation of business architects and business professionals. What is the optimal way for you to accomplish these aspirations? I actually talked to somebody today. Of course, I can't remember his name. He's in Fayetteville, Arkansas. He's a CRO, and he said, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna teach a sales class." I said, "I got friends, John Clavin, Jerry Doyle, Peter Bell, that do a class at Boston College, and they thought it was going to be the easiest thing, and they say it's like the hardest thing in the world." So anyway, go ahead.
Love it. Awesome. Shout out to Rick. Rick's amazing. For sure. If you think back to what I said earlier, really every day I wake up, I don't have a job. I serve a global vision in a global community. And that's really what I'm trying to do. So teaching is not only my sort of greatest passion in who I am, it's the best way I can scale. And for me, that I don't think that can be any one outlet. That is absolutely university, in particular business schools, the most relevant there. And it's also executives, and it's also the practitioners. So from small cohorts, as Rick says, to bigger groups. It's just getting into the groups of people who really want to learn these ideas, have a lot to share, and teaching really the full spectrum on how to turn idea into action. Thanks for the question, Rick. Absolutely.
There you go. It's great. It's amazing how lacking some of the universities are just in terms of what I would call it kind of practical. I've got a few friends, Ken Doherty, Kevin Connolly. We're doing something with a sales group at a University of Alabama in March. But it's the professors, I think, that are reaching out, that want the external help and advice, for sure, to be commended. And then, which in that case is the Alabama example. But then you have so many who are just that I've talked to here and there, and okay, no thanks. I mean, you got to be kidding! Like, we're offering all this stuff up for free. I'll give you books. I'll give you So, and then shout out Tucker. Maybe you can put my book up. Your go-to sales advisor. I highly recommend. It's as Randy's as you can tell because I have it marked up. But anyway, so if you can pull that, Tucker, at some point, that would be great. And then I'm just going to buzz through some of the other comments here. Daryl said the 4-day work week is upon us. We'll see. Elsevier put this in place back in 2003 for the summer, based upon department and individual schedule. And then Dean asks, hi, Whynde, do you have a couple of canned wins / templates / verticals that you can bring to your customers or potential clients to start their journey? So certainly, one thing would be the kind of charts that I showed in here. Not that they're quite self-explanatory, but when you see it, you kind of mentally get the ball in the 50-yard line, and then you have to kind of read and understand probably to get the ball further. But I'll let you answer.
Yeah, you're exactly spot on. So a couple, let's give a couple. One is the golden thread. Take an idea, translate it into action. I mean, I don't have long enough on this show to tell you actually the insights that will come out of that, and the opportunities to sort of tweak process and have conversations that are new. So the golden thread, to translate something. The other one I would say is, and again, you could look at it as a canned win or template, but basically taking the investment portfolio. So whatever people have submitted for dollars for, let's call those initiatives in whatever state, and overlaying the capabilities that they are going to uplift on top of that. So what that shows us is where are people planning to invest in the same area, all right? Where do we have gaps or overlaps? And then how does that spend planned against capability compare to where the strategy wants to invest per capability? So those are two new powerful views. One is upstream, the golden thread. The investment is a little bit further downstream, but it's often a place where we can find, again, a lot of new insights. So it's a good place to plug in as sort of a canned win. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Dean. So I've been saying Daryl, you said Darrell, so you may know better than me. But anyway, here's a touchy one. What are your thoughts about managing a business from a spiritual foundation? So again, back 30, 40 years ago, probably was a much easier thing. These days, I mean, you got to be careful even saying, forget about managing the business, but just kind of even what your own beliefs are, because you can get totally torpedoed from who knows where. But go ahead.
Oh, I love it. Great question, Darrell. Well, first of all, slightly tangential, but relevant. The idea of purpose and purpose in business has become a bigger, more important thing, I think, with our own human evolution, as well as what younger generations are expecting and things like that. So I think purpose is emerging as a stronger theme in many organizations. But I think my personal belief is, maybe this is a little bit along the lines of what you're saying, Randy. I don't know that one has to be outright about it. But if one does have a deep spiritual grounding, that person will show up in every interaction, in everything you write, in everything you do, in the decisions you make, and how you treat people. So I actually think sometimes it's even better just to show up as that sort of grounded person, if you're a spiritual person, and let that show through. And I don't think you have to call a lot of attention to it, but maybe arguably someone can make a case that helps to lead a good business.
Yeah, so probably not as much necessary branding it, but kind of just leading by example in terms of your behaviors and your actions and kind of what you do and how you do it.
Yes, yes. And people will ask questions if they feel something's different or special and they want to know more. Absolutely.
Totally. And Darrell says, I teach professional sales at Seton Hall University since 2009. Awesome. So Darrell, if you want, you can look at sales community, click on the advisory board. You can click on New York. And I've not counted lately, but there's got to be 20, 30, 40 probably CROs who are all great. So if you want help for any speakers, feel free to ask for any introductions to any of them if that helps you at all. And then totally happy if you want to send me an email with your mailing address. I can do it on LinkedIn here, which I guess you'd be dialed into. Totally happy to get to you as well. And then Darrell says, love your answer. And Rick asks, I feel, Randy, on the topic of universities and sales training, I've done some sales instruction, the most recent for Montclair State. I enjoyed it, but I have so much more to give. But the universities have a tough time accepting them more. I mean, yeah, what do you say?
I'm trying to not say too much because I do know a lot, and I am working with universities.
That's why we're here. Let's go. Come on.
Yeah. There's a hard time accepting there's a big not invented here syndrome, including when you said earlier too, Randy, when things are very practical and they're actually working in business. And I know this firsthand because this idea of strategy execution, we've done a study that says it's missing grossly in graduate business curriculums, but it's hard to get, it has to become their idea somehow, which is curious because then how do new ideas ever get into universities? So I do think it's, I'm going to say hats off to the universities and the leaders and the deans that embrace these ideas and are courageous to take them in, because we've just got to do that, especially as education is changing and for universities as well. So just to say, I very much agree. It's drip by drip. I will say a tiny win. The MBA Roundtable is recommending now a new Harvard Business Review on strategy execution as their required reading for strategy courses. I bring up that example to say drip by drip change happens, and I'm endlessly patient too. But I agree, you guys.
Yeah, it's probably almost analogous to some of the companies that, kind of can't get out of their own way around just kind of our whole strategy discussion, right? Okay, they think they got it, they don't have it, and they're not doing all the right things around this area, right? Where there's all kinds of expertise and help that they can bring in. So Darrell, just because I know myself, I'm going to probably forget to grab it. Do me a favor, just send me a note on LinkedIn, or you can send me my email is just randy@salescommunity.com, and we can start a conversation that way if that's okay. Dean says, thank you. Darrell says, so true, not invented here. Rick says, I do like your new throne, Randy. Says, Beaver Creek for while during the winter. And I must say, today was a awesome powder day, and I had second thoughts saying, geez, I can only get out here for 2 hours and I come back in, but very, 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 very worthwhile for sure. So you've been an amazing guest, Whynde. Totally appreciate it. Everybody asking the question, very engaging. As always, I didn't even get to the tip of the iceberg for all the other questions I was going to ask, but hopefully we catered it to those that were watching. So thank you so much for that. Thanks, Tucker, for your help behind the scenes. Spotlight AI. Thank you for sponsoring. And next we have, we did Whynde today because she has some travel going on this week. And then last week we did Kevin Delane, who is a CRO Cohesity, who I highly recommend you watch because I had a CRO group out here in Beaver Creek. But next week we're going to try and get back on schedule. So Costa Harbilis is a CRO at Intap. That'll be Wednesday, February 8th. His topic is uniqueness of selling into partner-led business models of professional and financial industries. And then week after that, February 15th, we have Paul Hunter, who runs North America for HPE as the managing director. And his topic will be reconfiguring and evolving sales teams, which they're on a big transformation mission as well. So Whynde, any words in conclusion?
Just to say that big mountains are climbed step by step, one at a time. So if you are looking at this big change and these big ideas, there's no fast way to a mountain. It's just step by step, and I promise you will get there. I live it every day. So all the best. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Thank you, Whynde.